2 days you'll understand why you saw this today. Not yesterday, not next week. Today. And the fact that you're reading these words right now means something very specific is already in motion. Something you can't see yet. Something that won't make sense until 48 hours from now. You know that feeling when you remember something someone said weeks ago, and suddenly it clicks. When you realise they were telling you exactly what you needed to know, but you couldn't hear it then? That's what's happening right now. Except you're on the other side of it. You're in the moment before the click. And in 2 days, you'll remember this moment and think, oh, that's what that was. Let me show you how this works. Reality doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in loops, circles, spirals. What happens today was set in motion days ago. What happens in 2 days is being set in motion right now. And most people miss this because they think time only flows forward. They think cause comes before effect. They think you have to do something before you can see the result. But that's not how consciousness works. Consciousness moves both directions. It reaches backward and forward simultaneously. It touches the past and future at the same time. And when you're in a moment of significant change, consciousness sends signals. Not after the change happens, before. Like an earthquake, sending tremors before the main shock. Like thunder, announcing lightning that already struck. You're in one of those moments right now. The tremor, the announcement, the signal that something is coming. And in 2 days, when it arrives, you'll loop back to this moment and understand what you were feeling but couldn't name. Here's what most people don't know. The future leaves traces in the present. Not mystical traces, not magical signs. Real, tangible shifts in how you perceive things, how you feel, what catches your attention, what you suddenly think about for no reason. Think about it. Have you ever thought about someone you haven't spoken to in years? And then they call you the next day? That's not coincidence. That's your consciousness, picking up on something that's already moving toward you. The event already exists in some form, and your awareness touched it before it became visible. That's what's happening now. Something is moving toward you. Not toward everyone, toward you specifically. And your consciousness picked up on it. That's why you're here. That's why this title caught your attention. That's why you're still reading instead of scrolling past. Because part of you already knows what's coming. The part that exists outside of time. The part that can see both directions at once. That part brought you here to plant a marker. A reference point. So, when the thing arrives, in 2 days you'll have this moment to look back on. This confirmation that you knew. That you felt it. That you were aware something was building, even if you couldn't name it. Let me tell you what the 2-day window means. 2 days is how long it takes for certain types of awareness to move from the unconscious to the conscious. From the part of you that knows everything to the part of you that thinks it knows nothing. It's not a random number, it's a rhythm, a cycle. The time it takes for a seed planted in deep awareness to sprout in surface thought. You planted a seed 2 days ago. You don't remember it. You probably don't even know what it was. A choice you made. A thought you had. A feeling you allowed. Something small. Something that seemed insignificant. But it set something in motion. And in 2 days, you'll see what that something is. And simultaneously, right now, in this moment, you're planting another seed. By being here. By reading this. By allowing this information into your awareness. And in 2 days, this seed will sprout too. And you'll understand why both moments were necessary, why the timing had to be exactly this way. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. Here's what happens in the 2-day window. Reality reorganizes itself around a new possibility. Not instantly, not all at once, but gradually. Like water finding a new path. Like a river changing course. It starts with small shifts, tiny adjustments, things you barely notice, a conversation that goes differently than expected, an opportunity that appears out of nowhere, a person who says exactly what you needed to hear, and you think these things are random, unconnected, just life happening. But they're not random. They're coordinated. They're all part of the same reorganization, the same shift, the same new path opening up. And in 2 days, when the shift completes, you'll look back and see how everything that happened between now and then was moving you toward one specific moment of understanding. That's how reality works. It doesn't drop understanding on you like a lightning bolt. It builds it, layer by layer, moment by moment. And the building starts before you're aware that anything is being built. Right now, the foundation is being poured. The structure is going up. But you can't see it yet because you're standing inside it. You're too close. But in 2 days, you'll step back. You'll gain enough distance to see the shape of what was being constructed. And it will all make sense. Not vague sense, not spiritual bypassing sense. Real, practical, applicable sense. Let me give you an example. Have you ever prepared for something without knowing why? Cleaned your house before unexpected guests arrived? Bought something days before you suddenly needed it? Made space in your life right before something new entered it? That's not luck. That's your consciousness acting on information it has, but hasn't shown you yet. That's the 2-day window in action. You're in that window now. You're preparing for something. Not consciously, not deliberately, but preparing nonetheless. Making space, adjusting, shifting, getting ready for something your surface mind doesn't know about yet, but your deeper awareness is already orchestrating. And the preparation isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it feels like restlessness. Like something's wrong, but you can't figure out what. Like you're supposed to be doing something, but you don't know what it is. That feeling, that's the gap between what you know unconsciously and what you know consciously. That's the tension of the 2-day window. The discomfort of standing in the space between seed and sprout. But here's what changes everything. You don't have to wait passively. You don't have to just sit in the discomfort and hope it resolves. You can participate. You can work with the window instead of against it. How? By paying attention, not to everything, not to every random thought and feeling, but to the things that stand out, the thoughts that repeat, the feelings that persist, the images that keep showing up, the conversations that keep circling back to the same topic. Those aren't random either. Those are the sprouts beginning to break through, the first visible signs of what's been growing underground. Watch for patterns in the next 2 days. Watch for repetition. Watch for themes. If something comes up 3 times, it's not coincidence, it's emphasis. Reality underlining something important, highlighting something you need to see. And the thing being highlighted is directly connected to why you're here right now. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people ignore the 2-day window. They feel the restlessness. They notice the signs. They sense something building, but they dismiss it. They call it anxiety. They call it overthinking. They call it meaningless noise. And then when the understanding arrives in 2 days, they're surprised. They think it came out of nowhere. They have no context for it, no foundation, no preparation. But you won't do that because you're here, because you're reading this, because you're choosing to acknowledge that something is in motion, even though you can't see what it is yet. And that acknowledgement changes everything. It turns passive waiting into active participation. It turns confusion into curiosity. It turns discomfort into anticipation. You're not waiting for something to happen to you. You're working with something that's already happening. You're collaborating with reality instead of being surprised by it. And that collaboration is what makes the difference between someone who gets knocked over by change and someone who rides it like a wave. Let me tell you what's actually happening in these 2 days. Your awareness is splitting. Part of you is staying in the present, doing normal life, going through normal routines. But another part of you is moving forward, touching the future, exploring possibilities, testing paths, and then looping back to bring information to the present part. That's what dreams are. That's what intuition is. That's what those random thoughts that seem to come from nowhere actually are. They're reports, updates, messages from the part of you that's already in the future, sending back intel about what it's finding there. And right now, those messages are increasing, getting stronger, getting clearer. Because whatever is coming in 2 days is close enough that the future exploring part of you can see it clearly, can touch it, can understand it, and it's desperately trying to prepare the present part of you, trying to get you ready, trying to show you what's coming so you're not blindsided when it arrives. But the messages are always subtle, always indirect, because the language of unconscious awareness isn't words, it's feelings, images, sensations, impulses, the sudden urge to call someone, the unexpected memory of something from years ago, the song that gets stuck in your head for no reason, the dream you can't quite remember, but that leaves you with a specific feeling all day. Those aren't random. Those are the messages. And if you pay attention to them over the next 2 days, if you take them seriously, instead of dismissing them, you'll start to see the shape of what's coming. You'll start to understand why you're here, why you saw this title, why this moment matters. Here's what you need to understand about the 2-day window. It's a gift. Most people stumble through life reactively. Things happen to them and they respond. They're always one step behind, always catching up, always trying to figure out what just happened instead of preparing for what's coming next. But the 2-day window gives you a different option. It gives you lead time, advance notice, the chance to prepare, not to control what's coming, because you can't control it, but to position yourself, to get ready, to be in the right state when it arrives. Think of it like surfing. You can't control the wave. You can't make it come faster or slower. You can't change its size or shape, but you can position yourself. You can paddle to the right spot. You can turn your board at the right angle. You can time your pop-up perfectly. And that positioning is what makes the difference between catching the wave and getting crushed by it. That's what these 2 days are for. Positioning, getting into the right spot, turning your board, timing your movement. So when the wave arrives, when the understanding hits, when the shift completes, you're ready. You're aligned. You're moving with it instead of against it. And the beautiful thing, you don't even need to know what the wave is. You don't need to understand it consciously. Your body knows. Your awareness knows. The part of you that's already touching the future knows exactly what to do. You just have to trust it. You just have to follow the impulses. Pay attention to the feelings. Act on the intuitions. Over the next 2 days, you're going to feel pulled in certain directions, towards certain people, certain places, certain activities, and your logical mind is going to question it, going to ask why, going to want explanations. But you don't need explanations. You need movement. You need to follow the pull, because the pull is the positioning. The pull is your awareness, guiding you to the right spot to catch the wave. Let me tell you what happens when you resist the pull, when you ignore the intuitions, when you dismiss the feelings. The wave still comes, the understanding still arrives, but you're not ready for it. You're not positioned. You're facing the wrong direction, and instead of riding it, you get tumbled by it. Instead of clarity, you get confusion. Instead of empowerment, you get overwhelmed. But when you follow the pull, when you trust the process, when you let the 2-day window do its work, you're exactly where you need to be when the moment arrives. And the understanding doesn't crash over you. It lifts you. It carries you. It shows you something about yourself and your life that changes everything. Not in some vague, inspirational way. In a real, tangible, this is what I do next kind of way. That's what's waiting for you in 2 days, not a message from the universe, not a cosmic sign, not spiritual fluff. Real understanding, real clarity, real direction. The kind that makes you think, oh, now I know what to do. Now I see the path. Now I understand why everything happened the way it did. And when that moment comes, you'll loop back to this moment. You'll remember reading these words. You'll remember the feeling you had right now. The curiosity, the anticipation, the sense that something important was happening, even though you couldn't name it. And you'll understand that this moment was part of the preparation. This moment was the seed being planted. This moment was your awareness, marking the beginning of the 2-day window, so you could recognize the end when you reached it. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, I'm ready to understand. Write it as your promise. Nobody.